Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I like that you have all your books nicely in the background. So
yes, this was my Bologna and Frankfurt online setting. So
your
this is actually my lounge. It's my lounge.
That's awesome. Yeah. You went to Bologna, right, this year?
Yes, so that was my first book after 3 years.
After 3 years.
Yes, it was incredible. Incredible. Yeah, what a joy.
And you're in Spain, right? Right now, you're in Barcelona.
Yes. No, I am in Barcelona. I tend to travel a lot. So Barcelona is like a base. It's my home.
Yes.
But I tend to travel a lot. Or I'm starting to travel again, let's say, because now we can enjoy it again.
That's great. Just to break the ice, so to speak. So I was telling you that I learned a lot through the pandemic, and one of the big lessons is I did travel a lot before, and it was awesome. It was nice, but you know what? I realized that in order to do business, the world, show us that we don't really need to be physically in a space, and you gain a lot of stress because you have to catch that plane, and then you have to run through different gates to catch another plane. But you're right, you're like exhausted, and then if you go to Europe, in my case, I'm in South America. So you have to adjust to time zone.
The time difference.
Yeah, the time. And yeah, it's awesome. It's wonderful. But I made a conscious decision. I am going to narrow my traveling. And I really want to travel for experiences that invites me to another enrichment feeling, more like a learning, more like
so not work.
Not work, definitely. And that's one of the questions that I wanna ask you, because if I'm completely wrong.
I actually have this tendency to travel for both. So I always mix work and pleasure. So I've done it a couple of times. I went to New York, and I always, at the same time as I visit publishers, I actually always stay a bit in the city and, visit and stay on the weekends. So I see it as a double experience, so to say. I don't only go somewhere for work. When I go on a business trip to Paris, I visit some friends at the same time. So it's like a thing, I don't know. I enjoyed, this sounds weird, but I actually enjoyed COVID time and being at home and doing the online, because it made me feel a lot closer to people. We had the time to speak instead of having 29 minutes and 59 seconds, like at a book fair. But yes, I missed the traveling. I actually think I like the two. To be very honest, I like the two. I think nothing replaces a book fair and taking someone in your arms without a mask.
Of course. No, I am with you. Definitely.
I think it completes each other. I think what I realized is a lot of publishers now have probably moved out of the office, working from home. Some have completely relocated.
Yes.
Different cities. So that's great, because if you're not able to visit them in their office, you can do online. I'm planning to keep on doing the two. For example, the American publishers are not going to Frankfurt. Children's publishers usually don't go to Frankfurt. So for me, it's going to be a great opportunity to keep on being in touch with them, until Bologna.
Yeah.
So it's never been that easy to get into someone's home,
Yeah. It changed a lot. We learned a lot too. We adjusted, because one of my favorite words was adaptation. In order to actually be resistant to the dynamics of the pandemic for 2.5 years or 3 years, depending on when, where you were and how, all the regulations were, because each country was different, right? Some had a very hardship, other ones were a little bit more easier, right? So the secret was adaptation. You had to have a very flexible mind, adapt to circumstances. And if you didn't know how to adapt, it was even much more stressful for you and your family and your work, right? So anyway, let's go ahead and let's go ahead with the list of questions.
You know what I wanted to, I just want to say briefly, I think what online changed is that we used to focus on twice a year, at least for children's books, you know, Bologna and Frankfurt. And now we can, any time of the year, we can actually chat and pick up an online chat and just, you know, keep in touch regularly. You could do this by email, but it just wasn't the same.
Yes, that's true.
So I think it's completely changed the mindset.
Yeah, and also the Zoom opened the possibilities to actually connect. At least I'm knowing you. I'm not in a coffee with you right now, which I would love to be in a coffee place and having this conversation with you. But actually we're seeing each other, right? And we start a relationship, and it's not as cold as sending an email. At least now we are looking at each other's faces, right? So that's fun. Okay, so let's go ahead. So the first question was, do the publishers continue selling rights without going to book fairs? That's one of, you know, I run a publishing company. I want to get actually involved in learning the process of how to sell rights. And I was really curious to know if they aren't practice that activity anymore through online, like, you know, talking by Zoom and getting to sell the rights, or actually it is essential to be at the book fair. So the economy right now around the world is going to face
very difficult
inflation. And that is going to be a factor that is going to affect a lot of people, because that's a reality that is happening right now. So it's not actually if you don't want to, some of the people may not be able to afford traveling.
I think you can totally do selling and buying online. I think COVID has showed us that we can do it. I think it depends on what level you actually are in terms of selling on my side, because I'm lucky enough, I've got 20 years experience. I've been an agent for 15. So I've got, you know, a list of contacts. I'm constantly developing it, but I've got this base of customers that I meet at every book fair. So for me, it was easy to pick up and say, let's do online. If you are starting to sell rights or starting to buy rights, then it's essential to get a book fair, because, you know, for example, all the people passing by, going to stands, doing market research, this is very difficult. Of course, you can do it online, but it's very difficult. So, you know, I think it depends on what level you are in terms of selling and buying. If you already have the existing relationships, then that's great.
It's easier. Also, if you had traveled before, and I'm talking about artists that are going to watch this recording, or like Miriam and Carol that are watching it right now, and they are here with us, joining us in this conversation. For publishers as well, if you had traveled in the past and you have the catalog has all the contacts. So, you know, you have the email, the phone number, everything really. So actually that is a treasure in your hands if you cannot afford to travel there. And also
I agree and I disagree in the sense that, you know, a directory is great to start with. Because I speak to, you know, regularly to new agents, so to say, if they contact me, want to have a chat. I mean, it's not as easy as just having a contact in directory. You are building relationships. So actually, you can send emails and say, I want to sell rights, you know, here is my list. If you don't know them, and the competition is so huge that actually it is difficult. I know some agents, and I truly admire them for starting during COVID, you know, because it's not as easy as sending an email and just saying, hi, my name is, and this is my catalog. You have so much offer that you might have publishers who don't enter, and that I think that's the issue, in my opinion.
No, that's true. You are 100% right. Also, to be fair, there is a large competition, which is a real factor too. You know, if you're in a book fair, you receive so many business cards in one day. So many people walking by, you know, that want to approach you, and also even some publishers, actually, and this is depending on the culture, because this is very cultural. Some publishers are going to be open to a more welcome email. And some others, they may have a lot of rules and steps to follow that if you don't read very careful, even to submit, and if you don't follow one or another, that's it. You're ignored. You're not reading the email, you're not following the rules. So I cannot work with you. As simple as that, So, and in other countries, you can send an email or pick up the phone and they will actually answer to you, or sending you a WhatsApp. Hey, I have a text. Would you like to see it?
Yeah.
I mean, it depends on the country. It might work or it might not even work. That may not be the right approach at all. And, you have to do your homework.
I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, when I see the submission guidelines on some of the US websites, US publishers, I'm just lost. I mean, this is not my way of working because I'm very small. It's just me. But oh my God, just understanding how you have to submit the work. It's a job on its own.
It's overwhelming. To be honest with you, it is always overwhelming. It's like, I also think like that way. I love it. I love the American publishers. I love the books. I mean, they know what they are doing. That's why they have a large sales in volumes, and not only in their country, but selling rights all over the world.
Yeah.
But that's one of the publishers that I read, and I like, just by reading, I'm like, okay, let's go step by step and see how can I approach this person. So anyway, let's see another one. What do you see in this is a very interesting question. What do you see in an artist, and what attracts you in order to represent such artist? Because I'm sure that a lot of people are going to want to know this from you.
So I'm going to speak about me because I don't represent all agents, and I'm not a corporate person as such. I mean, working hard, playing hard, but I'm not one of the, these major agencies in New York or whatever. I think for me, it's very personal. I receive an email in my inbox and I have to fall in love. I just fall in love. I know I can't explain. I usually let it rest. I don't sleep for a couple of days, and I know that I want to talk to this person at least, and get to know them and see if we could work together. I mean, this always happened that way. It's been fascinating. And of course, I have to like it and I have to see a potential internationally. So just for the information, I only work with illustrators who write. So it's very specific. So we develop projects together, and I also represent publishers. And I think it's the email that someone also sent me, like it needs to show a bit of passion, and it needs to show me that they've been to my website, they know what I'm doing. I receive so many submissions like fiction, adult books, and it's like, just look at my website. You'll see that I specialize in illustrated children's books, so you need to do at least a bit of research. And of course, I will go to social media, websites. I'm a very visual type of person. I'm passionate about illustrations. I mean, this is my world. So someone who knows how to sell themselves is important to me.
Yeah, definitely. I guess that when you were talking right in the beginning, the first picture that came in my mind, it was like a relationship. Basically, is first love outside, right? So you receive something and your heart speaks to you, and later you settle it there for one day. Your head then talks to you, and then you make a decision. But this at first love, So basically, because you also probably receive so much emails or samples. Well, there was the time of the pandemic that we couldn't even mail things, right? So everyone had to also adapt to another way of illustrators getting the work to either publishers or agents, right? And they created these, at least I don't know if you know this called Kid Lit Art, KID, like Kid. And they actually
yes,
and they actually have this fantastic idea that they have. I'm not sure if it's once a year or more than once a year. They have postcards. And, you know, the artists create postcards and then they send it by email, of course, to the people they want to reach, which is a nice way because it's, you know, communication, right? It's building that communication, that relationship. And that was the only way that you could do. You couldn't send any samples by mail. So basically, that's a nice way to describe your way of choosing.
I mean, for me as well, and I'm going to be honest, I also need to see the person. So what I've done, what I always do actually, is I send an email back, and if I'm interested, I will always say, you know, let's meet online.
Exactly, because you want to know you can work with that person.
That's always going to be the process for me.
Yeah. I mean, okay, great. No, that's okay.
You're back.
Yeah, maybe it's gonna be freezing here and there, but we're here. Yeah, no, that's great. I think it's very me too. As a publisher, I do the same thing. My heart speaks first, then I put myself into let's think, mind, help me here to make a decision, right? But also, I like to know the artist. I need to hear him or hear her. I need to see her. I need to have a conversation because you need to know if the relation is going to work. This is a relationship. This is a trust, relationship. You need to trust in that person and they need to trust you. Otherwise, it's not going to work. And, it takes 50-50, to really have that relationship as perfect as you can make it. So let's see.
I think this phone call is always very, very important to me, Definitely. And I also have some questions that I also ask as well, in terms of, do we have the same work ethic? Do we, a lot of things like a flexibility in terms of making changes on a book.
Exactly, which is going to happen eventually. It's going to happen. Yeah. So you need to know that person doesn't has an ego. Ego is totally out. And then you also need to know the intention of that person. Is that person just shooting for one book only, and then he or she is going to change to another genre, and she's giving you one picture book, and tomorrow she's going to have another book that is not related to children, the children's world. So you have to know where they are going, right? So anyway, let's see. And some publishers actually, they want to see, they sign with you, but they want to, or they expect that artist is going to have another book coming up and another book coming up, and it's not only one time. And that's a reality of the market. That's an expectation, a real expectation.
They're saying, I actually push I actually ask all the authors I work with to give me 2 projects a year. I do. For Bologna and for Frankfurt, at least 2 a year, because, they need to be showing that they are here, present, and publishers need to have them in mind. So I think for me, it's also super, super important.
Definitely. Let's see. So this is another question about how competitive is the market. Of course, we need to know if this is a myth, if this is a reality, because, competition is driven, at least in my eyes and in my personal opinion, about quality, not about volume. There's a lot of books, a lot of text coming and flowing in the internet area, right? But how really are we talking about competition? Because it also, is it a matter of luck to sell a foreign right? Is it luck? Is it what are the ingredients? I guess that there's 2 questions: the competition aspect and the secret ingredients to how to sell a foreign book.
Oh my God. I'm not going to give my secret, obviously, otherwise I lose my job. But this is a highly competitive market, and it's crazy. You can only go to Frankfurt and Bologna and see how many books there are. Now, what happened when I started 20 years ago and 15 years ago with the agency selling foreign rights, the English and the Americans were leaders in the market of selling rights, and now everybody is selling rights. So the market has opened hugely. So that makes a huge difference. You know, every publisher all around the world now is trying to sell rights, and that has changed the panorama hugely, which is great at the same time, because I have to be honest, when I worked for UK publishers, I worked for two big ones. I was sometimes frustrated that there was no, you know, they were selling rights, but they were not buying. Vice versa. And now it's changed completely. And now, you know, publishers all around the world buy from publishers all around the world. It's not only from the English, and the English actually buy from other countries. It's completely changed the panorama. So, but it's very, very, very competitive. I would say, if I have to give some, to me, according to me, some art styles, for example, are more universal than others. That I can't explain. I know when I see something, I know if I can sell it roughly where. So I think, you know, some artwork is just going to fit into more markets because of the artwork. I think it's the strength of the text and illustrations, the mix as well. You can have beautiful illustrations and a text that's very weak, or vice versa. Like I said, knowing which illustrations sell where and trying to target those markets in priority. You might have some topics that are more popular than others. You know, right now it's a lot of emotions, narrative, nonfiction, all these kind of books. And there is a secret: you have to be proactive. So I think you have to try to find ways to bring the book across. I think the first one is the passion. I think when you show passion for what you do, it's incredible what it can bring. You know, I still haven't forgotten 10 years ago about, I was sitting down with a Korean agent at a book fair, and he looked at me and he stopped me and he said, "Veronique, can I ask you something?" I said, "Yes." "Are you faking it? Like, do you really like your job that much? Because you're all..." I said, "No, I'm not faking it. I truly love what I do. And I think it makes a huge difference."
That's true. That's true. And that's one of the things that I thank you that you accepted this invitation, Veronica, because I had followed you for a couple of years now. And through Instagram, I honestly can see your passion. Your photographs, you know, you are traveling, you're working, but like you said, you also take the time to enjoy what you're doing. And if you enjoy what you're doing, you're going to be successful, because you're definitely genuine. You're not faking it. I can see that, for example, I can see that. I can see that because it shows. It shows. You have the maturity to actually see who fakes it and who doesn't fake it. And, you know, you're in a coffee place and suddenly you see something that you like and you photograph the image and you go back to your world of books, even though you are having a moment of relaxation, right? And for example, you have a picture of Mafalda. I think you went to Buenos Aires, maybe, because everybody knows that bench with Mafalda, you know, unless it's in another country that I don't know. And again, maybe you are, that evening you were going to see a tango, but suddenly you are seeing Mafalda and you take the opportunity to snap a photograph, right? And go back again and invite your followers to the children's world of books. So this is amazing. And I think that in terms of, if this is a luck if this is a factor of luck, I think that what you said is true. You have to
there is luck in life.
You have to research the market. You have to search the market. You have to do your homework again. You have to know which countries like what. We know what, you know, Italy likes. We know that the books are so different. And, you know, from another country, like let's say Mexico, the colors, the themes, right? The artist, the passion of each one of them is different through the emotions of colors and context, because these are two different countries with different history. And if you know the history of your country and you take advantage of that, you know that it's going to be probably selling much easier in the South America than in another country like Japan. You know, it depends on what you are selling, right? It depends on the theme. Also, if your characters have a look that are towards Asian, not because you're doing it intentionally, but that's maybe your line, your style, you're going to attract people from Asia because you already are having something magical that can be universal, right? But if you're having ethnicity, like, I don't know, an American Indian, from one tribe, it's going to be a story of Pocahontas. And unless Germany wants to buy Pocahontas, it's okay, right? Or any other country. So it depends also the timing. The timing is crucial. Maybe there's a publisher that is looking something in that moment that they want, and it comes to your hands, and you take advantage of that, because they are maybe,
or you have a change of publisher.
Exactly.
Or you have a change of publisher.
Maybe they need a book so badly, and Veronica has it, and you are, feeding their need. It's all, and also art is very subliminal. We know that what we like, other people are not gonna like, and that's another reality.
Oh no, it's very personal.
It's very personal.
It's very personal.
So let's see. How long does the process take from start to finish to sell a ride?
Wow. So sometimes you're lucky, and the publisher fall in love at the book fair, but most of the time I would say at least a couple of weeks, a couple of months, if not longer. I mean, it can be quite amazing. I would say it's a very, very, very long process.
Yeah.
And I think authors I take on, new authors, are always amazed, like, how long it takes. And, I come back with lists of interest from book fairs, and it takes such a long time to get feedback and the whole thing, but it's actually a real long, hard work. And then once you actually start negotiations, then there's the whole contractual side of things, which is not the funnest, but has to be done. And that, depending on the country, can be really long.
Tricky. Yeah. You can have a contract of 15 pages or a contract of 3 pages. Simple and easy, right? So, yeah.
So I have a template. I have my own contract, and most of the countries accept it, which makes it easier. But I mean, with American publishers, for example, that's really tough. With UK publishers, it's also really tough. So you're reading a 24 pages contract where it's all sent by them, so you have to take it in. You've got to read through. It takes a lot. It takes sometimes months. I think the worst I've done is the negotiation of contracts in the US of 6 or 8 months.
Yeah, I believe it. Yeah.
And I was exhausted. I went for a bottle of wine afterwards.
Yeah, I totally believe that. Okay, great. But that's a good idea for the people that are watching or will watch later, because that's another, important process that they have to understand. It doesn't happen overnight. It might happen in a week. No. And again, depending on the country, depending on the publisher, right? But it can happen up to 6 to 8 months, right? Also, can an agent represent a publisher, or do they mainly work with authors and illustrators?
That very much depends on the sensibility of the agent. I do both. I started representing publishers when I started the agency, and a couple of years ago, I started also working with authors because I wanted something more creative. But this is a complete different job. I mean, the selling job is the same, but the work behind, but you have what I call rights agent, who just represent publishers, and you've got literary agents who actually are going to work with the authors and work at projects and, advise them on the project. So that's very much a sensitivity. I have some agent friends who love fiction, for example. They love to read novels. I can't. I mean, for me privately, yes. For work, it's not my thing. I'm an illustrated type of girl. So everybody has their kind of sensitivity. But yes, you can. More and more rights agents actually start representing authors as well. So it's interesting.
So maybe it's like a mix, right? Or it might be 50-50. Maybe if you want to break it into a percentage, maybe 50-50.
Yeah. Well, with me, it's 50-50. I would say.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
That's also a good balance, by the way, because
Yes.
it also gives you a very versatile
Yes.
catalog. You have, you have a more also interesting catalog because you can have from different parts of the world artists
Absolutely.
and publishers, right? So that's fantastic.
Absolutely.
And the
Yeah.
publisher is doing already the work for you in terms,
Yeah.
they already are
You're
doing
right.
at least you don't have to worry about coloring, proofs,
Yes.
the text, the edition, right? Everything, right? So that's the good thing. With the authors and illustrators, you may
Ooh.
have something to tell them that they need to change, and that's where it's important that they are flexible and they understand that it's not just going to be the way they are delivering that job. That job is gonna may need changes or may not, but most likely is that they may need some adjustment.
It's a very different job.
Yeah.
Also when you start when you start an author's project, yes, there are going to be discussions with the publisher, editorial discussions. When you actually sell a ready-made project from a publisher, or I do it from authors as well, then that's it. You buy the book as it is. You change a sentence or not, something, but you don't go as far as you would do it with an author.
Exactly.
So it's very interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting actually. So how long is a given contract from, not from the publisher, but from your job? So you
from an author,
I don't know if I don't know, are they different from the publisher and from
yes,
the author? Yeah.
you can make a difference. So basically, when I sell on behalf of the publisher, it's 5 to 7 years from the date of the contract. That's the standard in the industry. Sometimes 10 with US publishers, but that's the max usually. When you work with an author, you've got two case scenarios. If you actually provide a finished project, which is what I tend to do, and I sell country by country instead of just giving the rights to one publisher and they have world rights or languages, then I try to work on that same length, so 5 to 7 years. When a publisher hire one of the illustrators I represent or work on a specific project with them and there is editorial involvement, then they usually get world rights or languages. And in that case, it depends on the country. It's crazy. So if you work with a US publisher, UK, it's full duration of copyrights. That's life plus 70 years after death. That's a long time. And very scary when you sign a contract like this as an author. Wow. With Canada, it's usually about 10 years. I think in Spain, it's about 15 years. France, it's full duration of copyright. Every country has their own
idea.
World.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because also, for example, you're probably very aware of this. Brazil has a lot of, I don't know the name in English, but it's called editales. Is what it's basically from the government. You have a support to actually being able to have your book being published and distributed in huge volume. And in other countries, that doesn't even exist.
Yeah.
So that's why the contract may have to be 10-year contract in order to be able to, fit the need if your book is being selected in that edital, which I don't have no idea how to say it in English.
Government program.
Yeah, solicitation, right? Yeah, solicitation. Exactly.
Institutional project.
There you go. Or institutional, right? Institutional solicitation, right?
Institutional.
Or from an organization non-lucrative.
Yes.
Right. So
but you always find a way. You always find a way. Actually, in Latin America, this is mostly in Brazil, and then in all the Spanish, and then Latin America for Spanish language. Yeah. It's also an interesting way of working.
But then, for example, in North America, I know, for example, the Heart Association, which is a nonprofit organization. If you have a book that is related to something about, let's say that you're talking about being healthy, taking care of yourself, how to embrace a happy, healthy family. There it goes, an idea for whoever is listening, right? If you have that book and the Heart Association see it and they need it and they want it, they are going to actually propose you to actually, sell the rights. And I don't have no idea how is that done. but each country may have something or the other, maybe different here and there, but it helps. So that's about contracts and about how long a contract can take.
Yeah.
And let's see, another one would be in your case. Let me see here. You already responded that one for me, which was about working with both publishers
I represent
and
both
artists. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're available for inquiries, what is the best way for an artist to contact you? Do they need to have referrals or can they send you directly their work? What is the protocol to follow, Veronica?
The protocol. Okay, so I'm just going to speak for myself because again, I'm going to say I'm not a huge agency. It's just me, actually, believe it or not. So at the moment, for example, I'm not taking on, it would be difficult for me in terms of workload to take more people on. Then you don't know what happens in the future, you know. I might need an assistant at some point. But there is no protocol. I mean, I have to say, I'm not into these big guidelines, submissions for guidelines. I want to see the real person. I want to have a relationship with them. And they can pop me an email, or some people contact me on Instagram. Actually, the artists I work with most of them found me on Instagram. It's interesting. So I know already that we have kind of the same, way of seeing life. Because if you follow me, like you were saying, I'm a very lively person. I like people who are like this too, who are very sensitive and love their job. So no guidelines. Just pop me an email, but just make sure you send me something in that email, because you'd be surprised at the kind of emails I sometimes receive, like, "Hi, I'm an artist. Are you interested? Go to my website." No. I mean, I need a portfolio. If you send me a project, send me the project, because it's unbelievable how many emails I receive saying, "If you're interested in a project of me, let me know. I send you the PDF." No, I want to see the PDF when you send me the email. This kind of thing, but there is no rule for me. There is no rule. It can be Instagram, it can be email.
Nice. That's nice. That's nice to know. That's nice to know.
Yeah.
So talking about Instagram, I don't know if you because I have to see artists in the Instagram, right? And if something caught my eye, I have to save it or snap a photograph, because something interests me at that moment of that artist. So just like they come to you, do you also approach someone that surprised you in Instagram and you said, "Wow, I need to see what this person is doing. Where is he living? Does he has something, or does she has a book already published, or she's working in something?" Do you also do that? Do you look into Pinterest?
To be honest with you, if I had a bigger agency, if I had people helping me in a team, yes, I would. I sadly don't have the time to do this. I'd love to. I mean, I sometimes come across profiles and I look at them, but I just don't contact proactively because I just don't have the setup for it. But you're going to laugh. I mean, the only time I've done it is with Marianne Dubuc, who I assume you know, who is my top author, Marianne, and we've been working together for 14 years.
Great.
And incredibly enough, when I first contacted her, it's because I found her first book in Quebec. And I contacted her the day she contacted me.
Nice.
And that was just a coincidence. Our emails crossed, and it was just meant to be. I wish I had kept that email, because it was incredible. It just crossed. And that's the only time I did it. I really believe some people are meant to meet and work together. I really believe that there's some
magic.
People just coming together. Yes, there's some magic. Yeah.
There's some magic. Yeah. Oh, that's so nice. Okay, so let me see. Oh, this is something that I would like to know. Before becoming an agent, did you work in any other area within the publishing industry? Some agents wear more than one hat, like being a publisher or a senior editor, and then even they decide to be mentors, come up with their online courses, or just leave everything and just becoming an agent. So what's your story?
So funny enough, I think I've done the opposite. In a way that no, I've not done. I entered the publishing industry straight away, selling foreign rights for a London publisher. I worked for 2 UK publishers before I became an agent, and that's what I did for a long time. And then a couple of years ago, I actually did the opposite in the way that I wanted something more creative. So I cannot have a publishing house. I don't want to have a publishing house and deal with stock and everything. So that's kind of my way to working with authors. It's kind of my way to have a mini publishing house, as I call it, or being a packager. So I've started, doing more editorial advice, and we work on projects. So I think I've actually gone the other way around. But I just want to say I'm not an editor. I'm not a publisher. I have not studied, and I would not have the arrogance to say that I'm one. I know what sells internationally. So I've got the eye for this, and I can advise someone on an editorial content and say, you should do this or maybe do that. Most of the time, I kind of also look at the text in English, and I try to turn it well for submissions, because all the artists I represent are not first language English speakers. So they send me the text and we rephrase so that it sounds good. But yeah, I think I've gone the other way around.
Also, you speak Spanish, right? You speak Spanish, and if you get you have obviously Portuguese, but Portuguese is easy to understand, and then you can read the text, even though you may not speak Portuguese, or because you speak English. And do you speak another language besides English,
speak
Spanish,
obviously English, French, because I'm French originally.
Veronique,
Veronique, yeah. Yes.
Oui.
And oui. And I speak German.
Oh, nice. Very nice. Yeah, I saw, maybe, I'm not sure if I'm right about this, but looking at your catalog, I think you have some German representation there.
I actually had, this was a little publisher that I represented from Germany. Yeah. Not anymore. But yeah, I actually I work with people whose language I usually understand when it comes to publishers, because they send me the books in their own language. With the authors, it has to be in English, that I'm very, very strict on, and fluent English. That's very important for all of us.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, in any language, right? In any language, it has to be done perfectly. Okay, let me see another question here. Let's see. What is the best advice you can give an author or illustrator or author-illustrator that wants to sign with an agent and would like representation?
I would say, and that's a very important thing, I think someone has to first ask themselves if you are actually looking at working as a team or if you are a solo player. I'm just saying this from experience, because I've worked with some authors who, for example, it's absolutely no criticism. They're just much better at doing things on their own. They like to contact publishers. They like to be very proactive. They need constant, every day to know, and these kind of people, I think, are just much better at doing it on their own. Having an agent means being part of a team, and I'm going to this is super important. We speak many times a day. It's like with Marianne Dubuc, for example, it's like a couple relationship. I think we speak every day. So I think you need to be part of a team and accept that the agent is going to look after your interest in terms of negotiating, contacting publishers, going to book fairs. Of course, as an artist, you can be in touch with publishers. Of course, I only encourage this. But if you ever just communicate that with me, and if you have an interest, pass that on to me, and then it moves on to me. And on my side, I let you focus on creative work, developing your own project. And when I sell, for example, the work of someone in terms of illustrations, then I don't get involved in what the publisher is doing or what the publisher is talking with the illustrator. So I think this is half. We all have a job, and it's really a team job. I think that's important. A lot of people don't realize that. I would say before you contact an agent, good website, please, make a website that is attractive. I speak about children's books. I don't know about adult books. Develop your social media profile and develop your English skills if you don't speak English, because you'd be amazed at how many people come to my stand at Bologna and Frankfurt barely speaking English and hoping to talk. Like, how are we going to work together if we are not able to communicate?
That's very important.
So,
that's very important.
I just wish in the Illustrator schools that they actually talked about these things. There is not enough business advice. Sometimes I feel, like I said, when you send an email to an agent, try to make it attractive. Do your market research about the agent and the people they already represent. What I find a shame personally, because I have a lot of authors contacting me, is that there doesn't seem to be a real directory of agents. So it's a jungle out there, and it's very difficult for authors to actually find an agent when they're looking for one. There is a book I can advise, which is called Children Writers and Artists Yearbook, which is renewed every year, which I think they'll focus mostly on UK and US agents. But I wish someone had the time to come up with a database of agents, because that'd be very useful for artists looking for representation, or if I have an advice, maybe go to social media, look at the artists you like and who represents them. I think this is important. And if you are writing to an agent and they're actually willing to meet you or talk to you, ask questions, ask as many questions as you want, because it's going to be, again, a very close relationship. You need to feel it. It's a match or it's not,
Yeah. Otherwise it's not going to work out. I think this is
but
great.
I think, it's really a shame, like, that there's no database for authors to say, okay, I need an agent, where can I look? So it's word of mouth, it's social media, and that's a bit a shame, I find.
No, that's great that you point out everything that you actually see, and you have a lot of years of experience. You can see what is the default, what is missing, what could be better, and education at the end of the day is educate your client. Your client is the author and is the illustrator. The more that person is educated, the more, again, they do this research, it will be a match. You will find the right agent. You cannot assume that an agent is going to work for your book of humor, let's say, but that agent doesn't want humor. He's looking for actually non-fiction, that agent is looking for autobiographies or biographies, right? So it's not going to take a humor picture, but you will find an agent that loves humor, that she's actually funny and, outgoing. And if you give that text to the right agent, that is a plus. But it's not only that, it's a combination of a lot of factors. And you have to do your work.
I think you have to be true to yourself and the kind of person you are. Some authors really are better suited to a corporate agency where it's just talking about business, where it's about money, where it's about that. Of course, I'm here to make money too. That's not what I'm saying. But, I had a couple of authors when I was talking to them before we worked together, and they say that they hesitated between different agents. And they said, I wanted to work with you because I want to have this personal relationship, being able to chat. I know I do I love this, what I call creative Fridays. So I usually book, the Friday afternoons to speak with my authors, and if they have a project on, we discuss them. Yeah. Then I finish the week on a high.
That's beautiful. That's a great thing to do. Yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah. Other agents just take on a project. They won't discuss anything with you. They will just present it straight away to the publisher. So it very much depends on what you're looking for.
And also your personality. If your personality, it's more introvert, and you like that agent that only sends you the work and you don't want to talk and pop in Zoom and maybe, go a little bit more deep in a relationship where you can talk about anything. It's,
Exactly.
you have to find the right, is a marriage. It is a marriage. Okay. So you have to find the right person to actually sign a contract.
Yeah, you have to find the right person. It's like it's like finding a boyfriend or girlfriend again.
That's true. That's what we say, right? That's what everybody says in this business, because it is so true. So let's say another one. Let's go by this other question. Now, talking about the other side of the reality here, how do we know that an agent is not an honest person? So now let's talk about that too. I know one, but I'm going to let you talk.
Oh, wow. No. Okay, you're coming out with names.
I know one because, I have heard it so many times, and it's a red flag. They call it red flags.
Okay.
So, but let's see. I will hear you first.
Dishonest in what way? You mean economically, that they will try to take your money away?
Yeah, probably economic. Yeah, probably with money issues, and probably that would be the most coming up current questions that artists gets. Wants to know.
Okay.
How do I know that this person is honest, right? I will tell you one of the red flags, and maybe you know this.
Okay.
One of the red flags that they say, the industry, because I'm not saying it, the industry is saying it. They say never pay an agent upfront anything. I don't know.
No, of course not.
I don't know if this is true or not. Yeah, and that is called a red flag. If an agent comes to you and promises the stars and the moon, and they tell you, I need $1,000 or whatever currency you want to say, 1,000 reales, pesos, whatever, that is a red flag. That is a no. And it has happened. It actually has happened.
I didn't even know.
That's one that I know. That's one that I know. Yeah.
Okay.
Scary,
oh
isn't it? Yeah.
Actually, no, you don't pay an agent. The agent is paid when they make sales. So I think that's the principle. You don't pay an agent. We are paid on commission. But I didn't. Right. I didn't even know that some people even try it out. To be honest. So that's why when you sent me that question, I was like, oh my goodness,
what do you mean? What do you mean?
But obviously there are some dishonest agents.
Yes.
I mean, what I do is, for example, I receive all the royalties on behalf of my authors. I think they can trust me. Most of the agents do that simply to manage everything and then repay the author at once. How would I know? How would you know if I'm honest? I think it's word of mouth. I think, again, it's looking at social media. Who do I work with? Maybe contacting these people if you want, or if you know them. And I think you have to be careful, because I think agents are not necessarily dishonest. I think, again, I go back to that. Maybe they have a different way of working than you do or that you like. If that's the case, it's not the agent who is at fault. I'm not trying to defend my job here. But it's just that you have different ways of working, and you might find someone who is more compatible with the way you actually work. And also make sure, and in all my contracts, that's the case, that actually you have a notice period in case you want to leave.
Yes.
Usually, I mean, at least in my case, there is a 1-year contract, automatically renewable, and there's a 3-month notice.
Yeah.
So if they want to go, if I want to go, then we are all free to go after 3 months. And to be honest, if we decide we don't want to work together, then what's the point?
Yeah, I have another one that I'm just remembering that also makes me laugh a little bit, because it's funny. It's think when you go to a doctor and you have to ask questions, right? You have to ask questions. And that's what you actually said in the beginning. You have the right to ask any question. No question is dumb. No question is the word stupid, if you want to call it, because you have the right to know. And if your questions are not being answered in a way that they satisfy you. You also can ask for referrals, just like you visit a doctor and you want to make sure that that doctor, that doctor is really good. You ask friends, do you know this doctor? Did it work for you? And the same thing with an agent. Do you know this agent? Have you worked with this agent? Because like you said, the best marketing is actually people talking, and they will talk in Twitter, and they will talk in Facebook, and they will talk anywhere, right, Veronique? if they are not or not,
I'm often amazed. I look at how people are connected on social media, and I realize that, for example, all my authors know each other, without even before working together. So I think there is a huge network of artists on social media that you should be using.
Yeah. So let's move on to another question. Another question would be, what is your biggest frustration as an agent? Do you have any?
I do. I don't have many. I'm very happy in what I do. I think mostly the job is great. I think it's going to be regarding all the administration stuff. I think the biggest frustration of all agents and authors is going to be how long the decision process is. How difficult sometimes. And I'm with you because I know publishers are incredibly busy. But it's true that you come back from a book fair, you do a follow-up, and then you don't hear anything, and you chase and chase and chase. So you spend your days, just chasing. The decision process is incredibly long, and quite a few people, no names, do not answer, and then you see them at the next book fair again. And so I think that's difficult, but I can relate to that because it's non-stop, it's intense for all of us in the industry. We are always working 12, 15 hours a day, so we can't answer all emails. Another one would be the contract negotiations with some countries, which is incredibly long and difficult, to be honest, but you're learning a lot. And I think another one is admin as well, and a lot of people don't realize is the time of what we call the annual royalty statements. Woo!
That's a lot.
I mean, to give you an example, and I think people don't believe it, but I've had the agency for 14 years. I've got about 1,000 contracts to follow every year in terms of royalties. I have to contact each one of these publishers. I have to get their sales reports. I spend my days doing this at the moment. And it's a shame because you want to be doing something else, but it has to be done. So, but it's all little frustrations compared to the overall happiness,
Yeah, and every publisher works in a different way because some, the bigger ones, the decision maker is not by the owner. It's a group.
Yes,
and it's a very, very specific group that it takes more than one meeting to actually have the editor approve the purchase of that book. So they have to talk to salespeople, to marketing people, to the bookstore to see if the bookstore is going to be willing to buy the book or, make a deal. It's the editor too. It's a group of people. So it takes a long time. And that's where probably it takes 8 months or 6 months, something like that. A small publisher house, maybe it will return to you in a week or 2 weeks because it's the decision of that publisher. It's a very small house. And, it might be an independent publisher that they want to, start buying rights, and it might be a quick answer, right? Let me ask you, how did you become an agent? And what is your favorite part of being an agent? Because you said you started actually, becoming an agent, right? So how did you step into this world?
How did I become an agent? By coincidence, actually, I didn't study this. I studied marketing and advertising. Then I went to live in the US and then in Germany. And then I started working for Getty Images, the photo agency in London. And I was actually, great company, but I was on the phone. This was a call center. It was terrible. I cried myself to work, I remember. But I was actually, and life works out very well, I was actually selling the rights of photos to magazines and to advertising agencies and to publishing houses. And I started thinking, wow, that sounds like fun, publishing. I was always a very big reader. As I was a kid, I was the only one to read at home. And I thought, that sounds nice. So literally, and that's true, I went, and I still remember that day, I went one night to a bookshop in London, and I bought this book, which is called Inside Book Publishing. It had a blue cover. It was the Bible of publishing at the time. That was 20 years ago. And I came back home, and I read about the jobs in publishing. And I saw, what everybody wants to be, an editor, copy editor, whatever, editorial, and then suddenly there was foreign rights. And I saw traveling, languages, books, and that was it. And I didn't sleep for 3 weeks. I knew this is what I wanted to do. This is true. It's like and then it was very tough to actually get into, it's really tough to get into working into publishing. But that's how I got my first job.
Nice.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. That's amazing. So everything started from advertising, from that first thing in advertising, right? And
marketing and advertising.
Yes.
I should have worked, actually, I was supposed to work in an advertising agency. So I guess I had some sort of, but it was on the commercial side.
You wanted something more creative too, right? Because your work is creative now. So that's fantastic. That's wonderful. So Veronique, we have one more question here, which is a very interesting question, which is, what makes or breaks a deal with an artist? You sign it and oops, you realize, no, this is not going to work.
I think that happens to every author or agent.
Yes, or publishing house too.
Or publishing house. I think you learn, again, we come back to this is a relationship, either it works or it doesn't work out. Again, I will say it, what breaks it for me, for example, if someone is doing everything on their own and doesn't update me on what they're doing and contacting publishers and, doing it all, I absolutely go for it, talk to publishers, but let me know what you're doing and let me then follow up, because otherwise it's difficult. So there are just authors who are better at doing this on their own. That for me is a deal breaker. I need someone who is working with me as a team. Not necessarily, understanding that it's a long process. So not chasing me every week, asking if there has been a sale, because that's not how it works. It takes a very, very long time. But I also understand that the authors want to know what's going on. So that's fair. It's just that give me a bit of time, to get back to you. Working efficiency, reliability, we are professionals. It's our reputation that's at stake. If we work together, we need to be on the same level. I think it's with me, it's working hard, playing hard. I think we all agree. I'm very lucky to work with super efficient people, fast, reliable. So that is great. It's fast, it's a fast-paced environment.
That is a key word.
I think the image of the artist, a dreamer and taking 2 years to make a book. No, we have deadlines. We have a book fair to go to. We have to present a project. I have German blood in me, so I'm very strict on deadlines. I do. I know I can be a bit, but that's the way it is.
That's the magic word here is reliable. The artist has to actually complete the work during the deadline. Of course, there's things that can happen that gives you flexibility, because we're all humans. But just like a not honest agent has a reputation, an artist that is not reliable with its work, it's gonna also carry that same reputation, because agents talk within agents, publishers talks within publishers, right? Artists talk within artists. So that's
a very small world.
Of course. And everybody knows. You may think that we don't know, but everybody knows everything, right?
Oh, no, everybody knows.
Yeah.
No. There is a little black book, an unwritten black book of people not to work with. I'm not going to give names. And I want to say it again. I think for me, someone who would not be open on local differences and make changes to a book, I respect the author's work. I always do, and I defend their work when the publisher asks for changes. But we also have to discuss it, and changes are often needed. That's the way it is.
Yeah.
So if you are not going to be someone who is open to retouch your work, you know, then it's going to be difficult.
Work solo, right? Yeah, definitely. So, you know, I don't want to take too much of your time, and I'm really enjoying talking to you. So to wrap up our conversation, would you be kind enough to give us a word of encouragement, and for those artists that are trying to get that agent and they try so hard and they haven't succeeded, what would be a word of encouragement for those artists, illustrators, authors?
Oh, wow. No, I would say keep on going.
Yeah. You know?
Keep on believing in your dreams. I mean, I'm a strong believer of dreams. Otherwise, I wouldn't be living in Barcelona today and doing a job, a dream job, as I call it, you know, and I did not study it. So I think you have to keep on going, but to also do everything that you can to make this happen. And find the right person for you.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's great. That's great. So that has been a wonderful talk. No, I think we covered pretty much all the questions, and it really has been a pleasure talking to you, meeting you, and you know, looking at your books in the background. Really awesome titles you have there, and definitely you know, continue with that happy, bright attitude. Your job is amazing, and thank you for accepting this invitation. And it was really nice to meet you, Veronique.
It's the same here, and hi to everybody, because I don't necessarily know who you are, but
so we don't have no idea where they are. That's true. Anna, I don't know, is that Vianakel? I don't know if that's pronounced right. Do you know how to pronounce that name? Miriam?
In Dubai. Wow.
In Dubai. Oh, nice. Thank you for telling us, because I didn't ask for you guys. So have a wonderful, wonderful weekend, and we'll be in touch, and take care.
Yeah, definitely. You too. Nice talking to you.
Nice talking.
Obrigada.
Obrigada. I will say danke.
Au revoir.
Bye.